they're in a level society that they can have whatever they want at any time. So if you're at their house, you must be able to provide unique experiences every day.
This episode is brought to you by FultonFishMarket.com, the most trusted name in seafood. FultonFishMarket.com is the e-commerce provider for New York's iconic Fulton Fish Market, the largest seafood market in the Western Hemisphere, trusted by top chefs for over 200 years. Fulton Fish Market provides a range of world-class seafood options. FultonFishMarket.com can help you serve a wide range of customers, whether you serve high-profile individuals or just strive for culinary excellence. They deliver directly to your doorstep in all 48 contiguous states, providing a comprehensive selection of the finest seafood, from wild fish to caviar and shellfish. When it comes to seafood, FultonFishMarket.com is our go-to destination and the name we trust. Let's celebrate those who support us and dive into this episode of the Private Chef podcast with a taste of excellence and freshness. Visit www.fultonfishmarket.com to get 15% off your first order. Use code PrivateChef at checkout. Welcome to the Private Chef podcast, serving the 1%. I'm your host, Hennche. And on our show, we speak to the best chefs, how they honed in on their skills to excel in the industry, and what it takes to work as a private chef for some of the most exclusive clients in the world. Welcome back to the Private Chef podcast. I'm your host, Hannes Hennche. And today we have Chef Rheberson Britto, a client-centered private chef who has crafted gourmet experience for ultra-high net worth individuals in the heart of London. Interestingly, he has also participated in exquisite dining events at the G7 Conference, the electric atmosphere of Wimbledon finals, the exclusivity of private member clubs, the grandeur of royal palaces, and the vibrant pulse of high society. His culinary journey has led him to become the personal chef to some of the world's wealthiest individuals. Whether you're an experienced chef or simply someone who savors the finer things in life, this episode guarantees a glimpse into the realm of the private service. Welcome to the show, Rheberson.
Hello, guys. Thank you very much for receiving me today. I'm very pleased to be part of your podcast. It's a thrilling experience. I hope I can share a bit of my day-to-day with you guys there, and so that I can give you an idea more or less of what my job and inspire and more other chefs as well to join the private household. It's a very nice industry.
I agree, which is why I want to get the word out, and kind of make it more accessible and have chefs that come from restaurants understand what different angles and journeys people take to become private chefs. And what has been like your personal journey to become a chef that actually works in a private household compared to maybe a regular restaurant or in a catering?
The main key, which I always make sure to mention, it is not being locked to a single cuisine philosophy. I always try to learn everything everywhere I go. So instead of focusing on one French cuisine or Mediterranean cuisine or Nikkei or something like that, I always wanted to learn how to cook. Doesn't matter what, doesn't matter which influence, where from, or where it is going from. I just wanted to learn everything as much as I could. And I believe it was the differential, because when you work for families at this level, they can basically have whatever dinner they want at any time. So for you to be able to provide them a very good day-to-day experience, something that you can impress every day, you must be very creative. And for you to be creative, you have to have a lot of knowledge, a bit from everywhere, so that you can put them together every day.
Yeah. I think that's so true. The more you have to fall back up on, the more you've seen, experienced, tasted, cooked, different techniques you have in your repertoire, the more you are able to pull from when it's time to, to give them a new experience.
I believe that you must always trust yourself, because I came from a kitchen porter, and in a few months they turned me into a common chef, and then a few months I've done level 1, and then level 2, and like this it went. But the thing is, I started from doing retail, but it could teach me a lot, pacing and speedy, timing, multitasking, which is very important. So it is like building something straight from the base. You need to start from the basic. And I believe that starting as a comic, it gave me a lot of thrive, to believe like, if I know every single step in the ladder, I will value the top a lot more because I know what it took. So we have to start from the bottom, Most of the colleagues coming into the industry nowadays, they finish in school or, I don't know, something related to nutrition, and then they want to join the restaurants or the business as a chef already. It's going to be quite tough, because it can be very pushy, very difficult. And just like in any other occupation or to learn at school, it's not even half of what is needed every day. So, yeah, you need to keep your head up always, value yourself, and make sure that you keep updating yourself always, because if you love what you do, you never want to stay behind. You always want to show and prove to everyone that you're the best, and for that you need to invest yourself every day.
So where do you find more creative input, more interesting techniques? What are your go-to inspirations? Do you like to eat out? Do you like to maybe check out new blogs or YouTube videos? Where do you seek additional inspiration to stay on the edge?
I'm a very methodic person. So methodic person, they love books. So I collect a lot of books. I read a lot of culinary books. I watch a lot of competitions. For me, it is very important to watch professional competition so that you can stay updated, up to date on every technique that is coming out, something that is revolutionary. Because sometimes it comes out something that no one is doing. And nowadays it's very difficult to find something like that. I like to watch as well some TV shows, but I don't really get much biased in those because some of them they're really focused on attracting the attention of the public. It's not really focused on the cuisine itself. But you can always take inspiration from everywhere, so something more classic, more comfort, more refined, for everything that is a content that we can follow. But I believe the books are the best, always.
And when you mean books, do you buy books from chefs, specialized culinary books, or you prefer to get? There's also a lot of cookbooks, which are not actually created by elite chefs that have decades of experience. Mm-hmm. I've seen more and more cookbooks that come out from very enthusiastic hobby chefs, or people that found a certain diet that works for themselves and they are happy to work on it and bring out a book, or people that just started hosting parties at the house and make a cookbook out of it. What kind of cookbooks do you like?
I'll give you an example. The other day I went to Waitrose and I bought antioxidation diet book. So it was one of those magazines, supermarket magazine. So as I said, you can learn from everywhere. So I have books from supermarket, from home cooks, or some editors. I have books as well from nice chefs, great chefs, legendary chefs, And every level, of course, has a different investor. But I believe that the knowledge at the end has no price. So it doesn't matter from where it comes. And it is the priceless about knowledge. Only you know, and so only you can invest.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter from where it comes from.
Yeah, right. Especially when it comes to, for example, antioxidant diet, especially diets, a lot of that will come from very different sources. One of the books that I was just reading is Outlive by Peter Attia. And, he's a doctor that we've also worked with for some of my clients. I've worked with this nutritionist. So when his new book came out, it was kind of well-rounded for me because I've already gotten the input directly from his team. But now he has like this 600-page book kind of basically carving out a path on how to get to the healthiest version of yourself in like when you get to 90 or 100 years of your life, and it's like, this is how you need to train for it. This is how you can eat for it. And the funny thing is where he goes into nutrition science, he's like, actually the majority of nutrition science is so vague and it's so contradictive. And it's so specific to the individual that the only thing you can say with certainty is that you should like eat real food, don't eat too much of it, and get a solid amount of protein so you don't lose muscle mass, so that in old age, you're less likely to fall because you've kind of maintained your muscle mass and your strength and you can prevent a fall. That's like how he boils down the nutritional aspect, because he feels like there's so much pseudoscience that's contradicting that he didn't want to go in that for too much. And I think this is also what I've experienced with so many clients, that there's diets that work especially well for some of them and they're able to sustain them. But if I try to do the same thing with somebody else, it's not working. So I find that diet and nutrition guidance is very individual, and I think it's such an interesting component of our job.
Yeah, it is very interesting what you have mentioned now, that every client has a different taste, a different input, that we have to find a way to apply it, so that they can start enjoying the daily experience. And it is funny because sometimes even in the same household, you have many principals, and all of them may have a different diet. It's not going to work for all of them, so we need to adapt. We need to be very adaptive person. Creativity, I believe, is key, because you must have a lot of ideas to come across last minute of them, and if you're not working for only one principle, so you must be very eclectic, get ideas, have things clicking in the back of your head very fast at all time. So, I believe this is how it is daily. Regarding the diet, it is very important to communicate with them, because some kind of diets, after a certain point, they can get very boring to the client and they may not enjoy it. So we must be able to adapt it.
Yeah.
Use our techniques or knowledge as chefs to apply it to the meal, to enhance the taste, change the forms, sometimes even change the colors so that it can be a bit more attractive and they can have the interest of tasting it. Because sometimes, most of the time, chefs, we try to keep the natural form of everything, the natural shape of Mother Nature, the taste, we just try to enhance it. Like the other day, one of my clients, he didn't want to try a juice, but just because of the color.
What was the color?
So next time, it was brown tamarind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next time I may put tamarind in a smaller quantity with a different fruit. So he starts to get used to its sour taste, and then he may come to drink it on this natural form.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also one of the things that I've learned over time. Also kind of just working with myself, fasting, doing different trials with different foods, is that you can really educate your palate and completely disconnect from flavor profiles that you used to love. Like, for example, I used to have an extreme sweet tooth, and then I went on a real kind of no sugar period. And now I'm eating nearly no sugar, and it's a lot easier for me. And I don't appreciate the same sweetness anymore by far. And I actually appreciate green flavors, bitter flavors a lot more. And I find that so interesting that you can completely shift your palate if you allow it to reset. There's like a real reset you can do with your palate.
Yeah, we humans are very adaptable to very atmosphere, very any ambient. So I believe that as adults, we know what is needed, different than a child that needs guidance to. So as a chef, we need to show the way. Showing the way, it can be in different forms. Sometimes we have to be a kind of a seller too. You need to know how to present your produce, explain it properly. What's the benefit of it? Like you're selling it.
Yeah.
You're creating the interest before it comes to the interest of tasting.
I think this is such an important point that you're making, that you're selling it, and you have to paint that picture, and you have to make it colorful, and people have to have a certain excitement for the meal. And this is a part that I really didn't understand. I didn't do well at first. Like if somebody would just walk in the kitchen and ask me what's for dinner, I would maybe say like, oh, fish, or beef, or that doesn't. It's like they just look at me like, what's wrong with you, man? Can't you like give me a proper menu? And it's something I really had to learn how to put words around it and make it sound more appetizing and kind of nurture that excitement.
I think that it was one of the points that the books helped me a lot, because I was a shoe seller back in the past. So I had to deal with different kinds of customers all the time. So I already had this confidence of, selling something, selling a product. But yeah, it is very interesting because it needs a bit of fantasy, knowledge, the way you speak with them. You do a bit of a circle, look, we make deals, everything for a common point, which is the progress, But it is a unique experience. I can say that to any chef that transitioning from a high-end event company and then high-end private dining and then private household, I say that it is one of the most unique experience anyone can have as a private chef.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Every household may be different, but the whole experience itself is something very unique, very different from restaurants and any others experience in the industry.
So what's your favorite part about it?
My favorite part about it is that it's every day changing. Every day, everything is new. Every day, everything starts from zero, It's not like in a restaurant or in a catering company that you already planned ahead. Because you can prepare, but you prepare there for the changes. It is not in a restaurant. You prepare for the set and you're ready for the changes. In a private household now, you prepare for the changes and you're ready for the set. It's the opposite.
Yeah. So how do you always stay prepared? What is kind of your own way to be ahead of what's coming that we don't know about? There's always the unexpected in a private household. How do you personally stay on top of that?
So I have to plan my week very wisely because it depends of the numbers of visitors, if there will be an event. But if you don't know, you always have to have the fruit of options. A lot of vegetable fruits that you can play on many different forms. Sometimes what I do as well is I do the crust pastries, or the sauces, fillings, everything, prep everything ahead and freeze it. So if, an important guest just decides to show by and my client requires a fine dine dinner, I am halfway there.
Yeah.
And then the other half just depends of the passion for it, we'll make it happen. So always keep your fridge full of vegetables, full of fruit. Have knowledge of everything that is in there so that when something comes by, you can click ideas, very fast, give yourself options so that you can know very fast and give as well the option of choosing something to your client. It is very important. Instead of coming out with something out of the blue and then the guest comes, no one knows what's coming out, because you're still creating. It has to be very fast thinking, all the time. So once again, books, methodic. I believe it helps me a lot.
Sorry for the interruption, but we gotta share the news with you. Nothing fishy from FultonFishMarket.com. They're delivering world-class seafood from New York City's legendary Fulton Fish Market straight to your door. Their fishmongers have helped countless chefs get what they need when they need it for over 200 years. Trusting FultonFishMarket.com means their experts work tirelessly to make your day run smoothly. Let your cooking skills shine and elevate your dishes with amazing seafood from FultonFishMarket.com. Yeah. And I think what you said is like being prepared in the sense that you have certain things halfway there is really a way to survive and thrive. Because if you always have to do everything from scratch on a very last minute, it can be very hard to pull off like an elevated experience.
Yes, it is. It is a lot. Because, you work with a team. But just like in a restaurant, someone may be missing today or on a holiday. And the plans can completely change. So you cannot rely only on your skills, only on what you have, because everything can change anytime. This place is, you can't, it's like a flying boat, It's landing there, it's sailing there, but it can fly anytime.
So what has been one of the craziest changes that you had to kind of work through? And
it was to cook for 2 weeks, 16 guests, 3 meals every day.
Oh my
and I was by myself. But when you finish, you feel great. You feel like a Superman. It is very pleasing at the end.
I hope you also had a week off after that.
I wish, but I didn't. But it was nice. It was good.
So what are some of the favorite aspects compared to being in a restaurant that you appreciated being a private chef?
I believe that the feeling of, in a certain way, of royalty, something like that, Because, for example, if you're working in an office or in an office company, corporate company, there is a different language, there are different ethics, different behavior in that environment. So when you're working for a private household, it's like a mix of all of it. The behavior of a restaurant with the internals of the household, that feeling of dream team. But then you have all the, as you mentioned, all the majesty outside of it. There are many aspects on the day, how you have to behave yourself. You can direct conversation straight to the principal out of nowhere. So these little details that they mold us as well into different press. Because when I left restaurants, I was a bit more of a soldier, a lieutenant, something like. And and then after moving, you need to adapt. It's a completely different environment.
Yeah, it is. It's completely different, but that's also part of the beauty. And did you have trouble initially to get adapted to that new environment and the way of interacting compared to how one interacts in a restaurant or in a catering, maybe?
Yeah, I had. Initially, was this kind of behavior. As a chef in a restaurant, you try to waste less time as much as possible. So you always monosyllabic, straight to the point, and very short conversations. You're always doing something. So at the beginning, people start to question or sit by the table and start to ask, what I'm prepared, what's the benefits of it, some of the questions you're doing it now. And I was very straight to the point. But if you're having a conversation as a chef, with someone else that is not a chef, it get very frustrating. So this was one of the first difficulties. But after 1 or 2 weeks, you need to try to build. If the clients, one of the principals gives the opportunity to build a bond, you need to take this opportunity. So for that, being like a chef, you can't. So I had to adapt. It was nice. Now I'm happy with it. I'm very confident and comfortable. By the beginning, it was one of the biggest changes because you're not you're not the completely boss of your environment anymore. When you're a chef, you step the food, everyone does it. There is no questioning, no asking, back chatting, you know. And in a household, even though you are the boss of your occupation there, your area there, but it is different,
Yeah.
because the main goal there is pleasing and reaching the objective in common, whatever it is, if it is a bodybuilder or if it is a tennis athlete or in esports, everyone has a different objective. The reason why you're there, you know, providing your services. Yeah, I believe that's it. It was the adaptation of one environment to another, from a completely fast-paced environment to a place that you can bang plates or silvers. If that happens, you need to apologize. In a restaurant, sometimes you do it for fun. Just to wake up people. Hey, too slow. Let's go, pool. In a household, it's different.
No throwing pans here.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean. If I could, I said already, but if I could say again, I would invest into becoming a private chef. You feel a lot more valuable, because you have to have the feedback frequently. It's not something that you only have once a week through a meeting, a very formal meeting. It can be anytime. It is a very lovely job because you're there having the direct contact. You can see their face expression, as soon as you serve the client. Something is good, of course, first thing you want to do is to give the compliment. So you can have compliments daily. It boosts you, to give your best every day.
I feel the same way, I think that being in the private service, it allows you to see the facial expressions, receive the appreciation. And that's something that I felt was really lacking working in the kitchen in a restaurant where you're just tucked away and maybe occasionally one from 100 clients comes back to engage with the stuff in the kitchen.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. It is pretty much the same. You describe it with my words, basically.
Yeah, so how many years have you been with this household right now?
At the moment, with this current client, 1 year, that's something.
Did you find the job through an agency or?
No, this job was through connections.
Connections?
Yes, I was even talking about that to one of my clients the other day, that I was going to the hospital to do a blood check, and then my phone rang. So basically, yeah, it was through a chef that I have worked previously on restaurants in a hotel sea container. I always used to see him and compliment him, in cheese, but very shortly. And then after the pandemic, I went to do some freelance job, private chefing. I was doing a bit of everything, barbecue, whatever camera. So I met him once again. And then we did some events in one of the most remarkable houses, historical houses. And then we met again. And he said, "Oh, give me your number. I remember you from the hotel. You were so chef there. I liked your work. I had your food on your trial." And, and I said, "Yeah, I remember you. We were working together for so many days here, but I didn't know how to approach." And then that's it. Then the other day, doing the blood test, my phone rang. Someone said they got my number with him. That was the head chef in one of these high-end hotels in London, and say that they were looking for a chef with these characteristics. And he said, "Listen, it's gonna be difficult to find someone with that, but the closest I know is this guy," and gave them my number. So basically, from the hotel to a chef that I don't know, I used to see 4 years ago.
So what were the characteristics that you're filling? Because you did say that it's going to be tough to find somebody, but he said that you will be the closest to it. What was kind of the differentiator for you?
They were looking for someone with nutritional knowledge. They used to work with dietitians, nutritionists, personal trainers, physiologists before, and someone that was specialized into Mediterranean cuisine,
Yeah.
but had a wide array of knowledges from other cultures, other philosophies. Like they love sushi, they love Nikkei food, Indian, Arabic food. So by what they describe, it is not easy. I have to say, it is not easy to find a chef that is used to do all of this,
Yeah.
together. Because usually chefs, we trained in a different way in the past. It was only cooking what's inside in the menu in the dish. But now chefs is a completely different occupation. It is not only about knowing how to cook. You need to understand palate, mental health. You need to be a bit sensitive. You need to have knowledge of different techniques, different cuisine. You have to know how to say abroad. So all of this together, it takes a time. Yeah, it takes a lot of commitment, And in the industry, from a restaurant, it's completely different because it is a bit more robotic. You don't need to adapt much. So that's the difference.
Yeah. Like you can work in a French restaurant for 30 years and you can be very, very good at French techniques, but that will not really serve you as a private chef. You might be able to pull off a couple of really good French dinners in a private household, but like serving a couple of weeks, serving a couple of months, it will get really boring for the principals.
Yeah, unless you're cooking for a French family or someone who really loves to eat French cuisine every day.
Then they really need to.
But mostly,
I think most clients look for a little bit more than just one cuisine.
Yes, because as I mentioned previously, they're in a level society that they can have whatever they want at any time.
Yeah.
So if you're at their house, you must be able to provide unique experiences every day.
Yeah.
So if it is like French, you're going to need to surprise every day. But as only one single cuisine, they're going to be already more or less prepared for what is coming. The offer. They will have the complete knowledge of the offer is going to be.
Yeah.
So this is why you have to know a lot of different cuisines.
Yeah.
You have to be very adaptable.
Initially, I also came from kind of the traditional German-French training. Then I went to Spain and I got a little bit of Mediterranean exposure. Then I went into a French restaurant. So I wasn't very ethnic at all. Like I had very limited ethnic cuisines at first. And that's something that I really had to put work into and learn. And then I traveled a little bit more and I spent a lot of time in India and learned how to cook Indian too. And that came in really, really handy to eventually have those ethnic cuisines and skills and add that to your repertoire so that occasionally you can spice it up and have different flavor profiles.
Now that you have mentioned that, I believe that one of the differentiators in my skill set was when I started to learn Indian cuisine, because it is so rich in flavors.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a single recipe, you have 12 different spices, sometimes even more. And by learning this philosophy, you start to learn how to marry, spices, some ingredients as well, what is going to enhance the flavor of the specific vegetable or vice versa, or the protein. And then you start to notice that most of the cuisines in the world is more or less Indian too. Everyone has a curry, everyone has a kind of stew, rice is everywhere. And it's one of the oldest cultures in the world. Yeah. So of course it has a massive influence around the world. And by learning Indian cuisine, now that you have mentioned that, it came to my mind. So it changed completely.
Yeah. I think even if a chef doesn't necessarily like Indian or think he doesn't need it, I think being very intentional around learning to cook Indian and expose yourself to that spice knowledge really helps. Because even if you don't cook an Indian meal, I think I'm a lot more comfortable using different spices after I've learned how to cook it the Indian way than I was before.
I agree with that. Because you train your palate. You know, when you work with Indian, so much strong flavors. They have a lot of very sensible flavors. They're very subtle, very gentle. So you start to train your palate for that. And once you get used to all of the richness, all of the information in a single organ, you start to play with all the other flavors. So you're going to be, something is going to click, it's going to remind you. You're getting close to the taste, because even with different spices, sometimes you can get the same result of a dish that you don't have that main spice. If you know how to marry all the spices, the sweetness, the acidity, the earthiness, you can play with it. Yeah, it is very important. I believe the Indian cuisine should be one of the keys for every chef to know, at least the basic. I don't know everything, of course. I love Indian cuisine. I go a lot to Indian restaurants. If I have to invite my friends out, or something like everyone already knows, I'm going to offer an Indian restaurant.
Yeah. It's so interesting. When I was in India, and you know how they make the little chapatis, so they roll it out. And in an Indian restaurant, you can literally order every single chapati fresh, and they make it like fresh to order. And it's almost like there's one person in the restaurant just to bring you hot chapatis.
Yeah. Sometimes even more than one.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so funny because labor is so cheap, they can do that. But then if you're try to reproduce the same cuisine, maybe in a more labor, where labor is more expensive, like in Europe or in the US, a chapati that costs you maybe 15 rupees in India, which is like a quarter in the US, will cost you $5 in New York.
Yeah, because the labor here has a different value, different investment.
In India, I might eat like 5-7 chapatis, and then in New York, I'm a little bit toned down on the chapatis because I don't want to pay $30 just for the chapatis.
Yeah, it happens often. Yeah, but it is interesting. One of the points that actually is forcing many of the restaurants to closing down nowadays, only serve dinner or only lunch, or sometimes closing for less days instead of 5 days, 4 days, or 3 days, is because of the labor. It's getting very expensive, and chefs are getting more valued. Because the industry, I don't know, for so many years we didn't incentive, we didn't help them, we didn't give example, for the chefs to continue. So now hospitality, catering, staffing in general is getting very expensive.
I think this is a global issue. Like I've seen that from Europe to the United States, and that's that there is no next generation of chefs really. Like if you look into the schools in Germany or even in the US, there's a lot less people who are sincerely thinking of that as a career and move into it, to become chefs, and that's also something that was impacted by COVID. There's like an entire segment of chefs missing right now. I was speaking to the executive chef of a 3 Michelin star restaurant in New York, and he said he's missing something between a very experienced chef and a new chef. Like he doesn't have anything to make a sous chef right now. So he has to take very inexperienced people and make them sous chef, because the experienced people immediately want to become executive chefs or head chefs somewhere else.
Some of my friends have pointed that the other day, because we've been talking more or less the same subject, and he said the same. He said because he works with many other chefs, many other restaurants, and he was saying the same. He said, Rheberson, they can't find the middle term. It's difficult to find a student, someone that wants to ingress into the industry, because before he had all that glamour, that pride, of being a chef. Nowadays, especially after pandemic, it changed a lot. And he said the same. You have to get a CDP and start pushing him for sous chef, the sous chef for head chef, because you can't find chefs, to fill the positions anymore. And then you start to have, unfortunately, unskilled chefs in a position that they're not already at. In some situations, it can ruin the company, it can ruin the environment. They're working day off the whole team, Yeah. But due to the situations, we need people to take the responsibility of doing it. Otherwise our industry is gonna shut down like this because we don't have chefs anymore. I believe that we need to go after, investors, governmental authority, so that we can have at least a fair wages, and that the customers can go to a restaurant and pay the fair amount because people want to go out, have a nice experience. But when it comes to the bill, everyone always wants to save. They forget that they have skilled people, hard working behind the stove, they're not staying bank holidays with their family. And we forget to value that because only the tips don't really help much. The industry needs a hero to change the system so that youngers can start getting excited to come into our industry, and the people who is there has the drive to continue. Because most of my friends, 10 chefs, now 2 or 3 are chefs, and they don't want to return.
Yeah. And the same is true for me. See, I will never return to a restaurant kitchen. I'm happy to cook in estates or for private individuals, but I'll probably never return to a restaurant.
I would return, but, because I have projects of consultancy and etc. Also classing, doing some cooking classes. But if I had to choose from the private household side of the business and the restaurant, I wouldn't return as well. Yeah. Even if, I don't know, if even 2, 3 tough, hard weeks, no one to, you're coming off those days, I prefer than those days in a restaurant. Because, those days in a restaurant can get very tough. A lot of testosterone everywhere, pride, egos, the heat, people pushing. Sometimes you lose the focus quick. Some guys get hugged each other. In a private household, you're never gonna have this kind of situation.
Yes.
Even if it is a very difficult day, there will be other qualified people for a common objective, which is to make the day perfect. In the end, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Everyone is there for a single point through the day. No one wants to leave without achieving that.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't return in that way as in a different matter.
Yeah. Well, Chef Britto, this has been very interesting. Thank you so much for making the time to be on the Private Chef podcast. Where can people connect with you, get in touch with you?
People can connect me from my LinkedIn or my Instagram, which is private_Britto. Over there, I share some of my recipes, some of the dishes that I do through the week. On my stories, I try to share almost every day how it is like, or how many tasks, or some little tips, tricks that I use through the day that can make the life of other chefs or home cookers or hobbyists a bit more easier. Try to help them, give some inspirations as well, because I do by me doing that. Some chefs, they see that and they share me the ideas that they're doing on the other side of the world, and it is all about connecting. So I believe that people that like food, when they stop to talk about food. That's it. There is no end. So I use my Instagram like that. So if you guys want to connect there, you'll be very welcome. I'm very thankful to be here with you. It was a very nice experience. I hope we can do another one soon.
Yes, always room for round 2. Well, thank you so much. And we'll also make sure to add your Instagram to the show notes so that everybody can connect with you and enjoy the chef and food conversations.
All right. Thank you very much, Hannes. Have a good one.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, FultonFishMarket.com, the best seafood in the nation, trusted by the best chefs in the world. Aside from offering premium seafood, They also make life easier for you by delivering all these outstanding products right to your doorstep. Visit the official website www.fultonfishmarket.com and explore their incredible selection of seafood and let your clients experience quality that has captivated palates for generations. Use code PRIVATECHEF at checkout to get 15% of your first order. When it comes to seafood, fultonfishmarket.com is the name we trust. Thank you for joining us at the Private Chef podcast. If you know any highly skilled chefs that want to take their life to the next level, make sure to share this podcast with them. And if you enjoyed this episode, click subscribe and check out our upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.